The self-service car wash on Industrial Way is a relic of the late 90s, lit by flickering sodium vapor lamps that cast everything into an oppressive, jaundiced hue. It was roughly 3 a.m. on a Tuesday, and I was the only person there, methodically rinsing the road salt off of my fenders. The rhythmic thud of the high-pressure wand was the only sound until a silver sedan pulled into the bay directly adjacent to mine. The driver didn't turn off her headlights, leaving me squinting through the harsh, white glare. A woman stepped out of the vehicle, but she didn't reach for the coin slot or the brush. She stood perfectly still, her arms hanging limp at her sides, staring towards the dense patch of woods bordering the property. My pulse began to thud against my eardrums, a slow, heavy rhythm that made my hands feel clumsy against the spray wand. I looked over, expecting her to ask for change or help, but she remained motionless for nearly a minute. I initially rationalized that she was experiencing a mechanical failure or perhaps a personal crisis. I lowered the wand, the water splashing harmlessly against the concrete, and asked if she was all right. She didn't turn her head. Instead, she began reciting a string of numbers in a flat, monotone voice. She repeated the sequence 3 times, her voice devoid of any inflection, like a recording playing on a loop. My throat went dry, and I felt a cold prickle of sweat breaking across my shoulder blades. I stepped towards my driver's side door, keeping the car between us. She finally looked at me, but her expression was vacant, her pupils blown wide despite the brightness of the car wash. "Can you check the trunk?" she asked. "I can't remember what I put in there. It's heavy. I think it's moving." Her delivery was practiced, too calm for the words she was saying. I looked past her towards the trees she had been watching. In the darkness, I saw a dull glint of a secondary vehicle, a dark SUV parked without lights, positioned perfectly to watch both of our stalls. The realization hit me like a physical weight in my chest. She wasn't the threat. She was the lure. I didn't answer her. I dropped my spray wand, got into my car, and reversed out of the bay so quickly my tires screeched against the wet pavement. I called the local precinct from a gas station 2 miles down the road. When the officers arrived at the car wash 10 minutes later, both the silver sedan and the SUV were gone. They found the high-pressure wand still running in the bay, but more disturbingly, they found a set of heavy zip ties and a roll of industrial duct tape discarded in the drain grate of the adjacent stall. The silver sedan was later identified as a rental reported stolen the previous day. The woman was never identified. I was driving back from a late shift at a distribution center, taking the back roads through the country to avoid the construction on the main interstate. It was nearly 2:45 a.m., and the visibility was poor due to the low-hanging fog that clung to the asphalt. About 3 miles past the old quarry, my headlights caught a large fallen branch blocking both lanes of the narrow road. I slowed to a crawl, my mind immediately attributing the obstruction to the windstorm from the previous night. I put my car in park but left the engine running, the headlights illuminating the branch in a harsh, flat white. I stayed in the driver's seat for a moment, waiting for my eyes to adjust to the perimeter of the woods. My internal logic dictated that I should simply drag the debris to the shoulder and continue my drive. However, as I opened my door, I noticed a detail that stopped my movement. The branch wasn't broken at the base. It had been cleanly severed with a saw, and a length of dark paracord was still attached to the thickest part of the wood, leading back to the dense brush. My throat tightened. The physical sensation of tunnel vision began to set in. I didn't reach for the branch. Instead, I gripped the door handle and began to pull it shut, but the interior light of my car stayed on, indicating the door hadn't fully latched. I looked into my side view mirror and saw a figure in a dark, hooded sweatshirt stepping out from behind a tree directly behind my rear bumper. They weren't running or shouting. They were walking with a measured, predatory glare, holding something heavy and metallic in their right hand. I slammed the car in reverse, the engine roaring as I backed blindly into the fog. The figure didn't chase me. They simply stopped in the middle of the road and watched as I retreated, their face obscured by the shadow of the hood. I drove in reverse for nearly a quarter mile before finding a driveway to turn around in. My hands were shaking so violently against the steering wheel that I could barely maintain a straight line as I sped back towards the main highway. I reported the incident to the county sheriff the following morning. They dispatched a deputy to the site, where they found not only the sawed branch and the paracord, but also a spike trap made of plywood and heavy-duty roofing nails, hidden under a pile of leaves just 10 feet beyond the branch. The investigators noted that this specific configuration was designed to disable the vehicle if the driver attempted to drive over the obstruction. No arrests were made, but the sheriff's office issued a public warning about staged road hazards in the area. I was leaving a 24-hour grocery store in a quiet suburb just after 2 a.m. The parking lot was a vast, empty expanse of asphalt, illuminated by high-intensity discharge lamps that hummed with a low, vibrating frequency. I loaded my bags into the trunk, returned the cart to the nearby bay, and climbed into the driver's seat. I went through my usual routine, locking the doors immediately and starting the ignition before shifting the car into reverse to back out of my stall. As soon as the reverse gear engaged, the backup camera on my dashboard flared a brilliant solid red. I looked at the screen, confused, and realized that a large heavy-duty shopping cart had been positioned directly against my rear bumper, draped with a thick red moving blanket. The blanket was draped so precisely that it completely obscured the camera lenses and the sensors. My initial thought was that a disgruntled employee or a bored teenager was playing a prank, but a cold, heavy sensation settled in the pit of my stomach when I looked at the cart's positioning in the side mirrors. The cart wasn't just behind me. It had been wedged between my car and the concrete pillar of the cart return, creating a physical anchor that would require me to get out of the vehicle and use both hands to dislodge. I kept my foot firmly on the brake, my eyes scanning the perimeter of the lot. In the reflection of the store's glass front, I saw 2 men in gray utility jumpsuits stepping out from behind a row of parked delivery vans. They weren't running, they were splitting up, one moving towards my driver's side door and the other circling towards the front of my vehicle to block my path forward. I didn't wait for them to reach the glass. I shifted into drive and floored the accelerator, driving over the concrete curb of the parking island and scraping the underneath of my chassis. The metallic screech was deafening in the silent lot, but I didn't stop until I reached the main road. I looked back and saw the 2 men standing by the shopping cart, watching my taillights fade. They didn't appear frustrated. They simply turned and walked back towards the vans with a professional, practiced indifference that was more unsettling than the actual chase. I drove directly to the local police station to file a report. The responding officer informed me that this anchor tactic is a documented method used by high-end carjacking rings. One person sets the obstruction while the driver is inside the store, and a recovery team waits for the driver to exit the vehicle to move it. They found the red moving blanket discarded in a nearby dumpster. It had been weighed with heavy chains to ensure it wouldn't blow away. No suspects were apprehended, But the store security footage confirmed the men had been waiting in the lot for over 3 hours, bypassing several older vehicles to target my specific make and model. Thanks for watching. If you have a true story, send it to acestruestories@gmail.com. If you have an idea for a future video, leave a comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, there's always another story.